Welcome back to my freaking channel. I am recording from my son's room. Um, he's currently watching TV right now. I am going to go ahead and let y'all know to go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and ring that bell and go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Well, you can't subscribe without ringing the bell. You can't ring without subscribing. Point blank. Okay, so let's get into the video. So basically, my son has Molluscum Contagious virus. Basically what that is, it is a small flesh-like bump, which I will put a picture of what his right here. But it's a small flesh-like bump that appears, and it starts like really, really small at first. I thought he had an ant bite. That's how small it was. When he came home from the hospital, the bump was there. It is skin on skin contagious, so if it is like has any kind of open space on it or anything like that, and he plays with toys and it touches that toy, or he is wherever that bump comes in contact with, that virus is there for the next 24 hours. It dies within 24 hours of no contact of that or whatever have you, unless it's skin on skin, then that next person can catch it. But the wound, again, like I said, that bump has to be open at that time. So like if it pops and it is open without a band-aid on it, he could give it to someone else. Molluscum Contagious is common in 1 in 10 children. So 1 every 10 child or whatever have you, because like I said, it's something that a lot of people catch and they don't even know they have it. Some people may have the bump and they don't even know they have it. So I'm going to insert his picture like I did previously, and I'm going to insert a picture of like what it actually is in the description here. I don't know who gave it to him, don't know how he got it, just he came home with it. It's not hereditary, it's not some genetic, it's not something that you can get from genetics. Okay, it's like having a ringworm. That's basically what it's like. You touch somebody with a ringworm, you get it. You can't pick them up and hug them and get it. You have to literally be direct on direct with that bump, and that bump has to be open. That's there. Also, I do want to put in a disclosure. I am not a doctor or a medical provider or anything of that nature. I'm just going off of what I did to clear up his molluscum, which now he only has 1 bump versus the multiple he has, and that 1 bump is now going away. So I'm just here to tell you guys how I got rid of his molluscum virus. And you can try it if your child has it, or you've ever heard of somebody who has it, if they can try this method as well. Because I've tried multiple things like creams, leaving it alone. None of that stuff worked. The only thing that worked is what I've been doing for him, and I'm going to continue to do it for him until this 1 bump goes away. So we literally have 1 bump left, and that's the 1 bump I'm getting rid of. Okay? Okay. Also, what I did, the first thing I did, at first I was just leaving it alone. I wasn't bothering it. And when he turned about 1, it just grew out of nowhere. Like, it just started growing out of nowhere to the point where now it's the size of like, literally like that. It's that big. It started like that big, and now it's like that big on his leg. He's 2 now. So it is a really pesky virus. Like, these things are so pesky. Like, when I say it is so hard to get rid of these things, I'm not even playing. Like, I literally would give him a bath every night, use a different towel, different rags every night. Like, he had new rags, new towels, everything every night. I never washed him or anything with the same towel or the same rag, just because I did not want it to spread. Okay? Now, fast forward to where we are now. And like I told you, I was keeping it very, very clean, keeping him in like clothes, What happened was, this year, Cole decides, hey, what's this? And he scratched it. That was the first time it had ever been opened. It bled or whatever. And that was the picture I showed you guys previously with a little bit of blood. But it was supposed to show you the bump. But that's what that little bit of blood was. Once he had popped it, and then he ran up to me in the grocery store. He was like, oh no, I popped it. Yada, yada, yeah. Well, I don't know if he didn't say it just like that. But he was like, oh no, what happened? That's how he said it. And I'm looking like, what is he talking about? And then when I grabbed his hand, I see his hands was red. So I'm looking for where the red stuff is. I find that the bump is popped. Once I notice that the bump is popped, we automatically leave out the grocery store. I take him home. I wash it off with soap and water. I clean him. 2 weeks later from that date, he has an outbreak. There are literally sprouts of them all over his legs, his thighs, his back, his chest, and his hands. And I'm like, oh, hell no. Like, they were small like the one that he initially had, the very first one. So I'm like, okay, they're small, which I know they can grow in size. My baby will not have multiple of these all over his body. So I call a dermatologist. He goes to his dermatologist. His dermatologist says, we can burn them off. I'm like, no. Does the burn off consist of him being put to sleep? No, it doesn't. There's a particular word for it, which I'll put here. But they basically take it and like each and every one of them, which can leave scarring and all this other stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that to my child. My child is not about to have permanent scars from those small bumps that I could probably possibly get rid of with a home remedy. So fast forward, I take him to his doctor instead of his dermatologist. His doctor says, just leave it alone, keep it clean, don't bother it. I'm gonna give you some itch cream for irritation. He gives me some cortisone. We all know cortisone is good for itching, so I put the cortisone on Koa's back because those were red and inflamed, but the rest of them were just fine. I put the cortisone on there, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna put that on there. He hadn't itched it since the cortisone got put on the back. I start YouTubing. I YouTube like some home remedies, whatever. My grandma told me to try lemon juice because lemon, of course, we all know is an anti-inflammatory, so it is supposed to automatically like cause that redness to soothe a little bit. So I was like, okay, cool, let me try that. So I was putting the lemon juice, like a fresh lemon, cut it in half and squeezing them in his bath and just dropping the whole lemon in the bath and letting him sit in there for about 10 to 15 minutes like he normally does. But then I seen this lady. So I seen this lady and she had been using, she said both of her daughters came home from the hospital with Molluscum Contagious. And she was like, she doesn't know where it came from, but she know it generally came from someone at the hospital or something at the hospital. And so she was like, she used apple cider vinegar, the mother one. It has to say mother on it, and it has to be in the glass jar, not the other ones that have all that extra stuff in it. Mother, and it has to have that yellow wrapping, which I will insert a picture here. She then took that and she would put a little bit of water. So she did like a half a tablespoon of water and a half a tablespoon of the apple cider vinegar. This is his mixture that I made in the jar, and I keep it in his bag so he can't get to it, and Maya can't either. It was a way bigger jar than this. I made him one. I did a half a cup of vinegar and a half a cup of water so I could have the container for a while. And I put some cotton balls in here so we can use those to dab it on. It's been 3 weeks, y'all. 3 weeks since I started using it. And when I tell you, Koa has cleared up tremendously. Like, there's no bumps on his back, none on his hands, none on his legs. The only bump he has is the one he originally started with. And it has shrunk in size, literally. Like, shrunk in size. And I'm like, okay. So I've been looking at it, paying attention to it, and it's starting to get really dark around the outside of it. Like the rest of them turned real dark, and then they just disappeared. So this one is going to take a little longer because it's so big and it's so fluid-like. But I've been dabbing it on there, and I noticed that it started shrinking this week. So I say I give it 2 more weeks, and it should be disappeared. But what I've also been doing different is putting the apple cider vinegar also in his bathtub. I stopped using the lemons, and I started using apple cider vinegar to speed up the process. And when he gets out the bathtub every night, I dab apple cider vinegar on that particular bump. I don't rub it in. I literally dab it, and I do it once a day. And that's before bed because he's not running around. He's not sweating. He's literally going down for bed. So it gives it that time to sit and dry. And I let it dry before I let him run around and play because I want to make sure it's in his skin a little bit. And I've noticed that it shrunk tremendously. So like I said, he has had to deal with the fact that he does have eczema, so I can't moisturize his skin. But I've noticed that when I stop moisturizing his skin, it's gotten better. The bumps have disappeared. I was excessively moisturizing him with the Aquaphor like I always do to help his eczema. But I've also noticed he hasn't had eczema problems either when I've been putting the apple cider vinegar in there. So he hasn't had any dry problems as far as eczema breakout or molluscum breakout, and that's because of the apple cider vinegar. It worked for me. I'm not sure if it'll work for you. And I've also been using plain Dove. It doesn't have to be the baby one. Just needs to be original Dove. No scent, no sensitive, none of that. Just plain original Dove. I've also used, I just make sure that everything is plain, everything is clean, and everything that he touches is clean. I disinfect all his toys at night. So I take the Lysol can and I spray down his room just to make sure we just keep it down. So I take those extra steps that I didn't take before. And I vacuum and clean his room every night. Now, once that bump disappears, I'm still going to clean his room, but I won't have to clean this often because the virus will be completely gone. He still has a little bit of the virus, and that's because he has that one bump. But that's basically what I wanted to come here and talk to you guys about. If you have any questions for me, leave them down in the comments. If you know somebody that's going through this may help them. Or if you have a child that's going through Molluscum Contagious, this may help as well. Like I said, this is something I did. It does not guarantee that it will work for you, but it is something that you can try. I say give it 2 weeks to notice a difference, or even 3 weeks to notice that difference. If you don't see a change within those 2 to 3 weeks, then it may not work for you, or it may just take a little longer. But like I said, these bumps are pesky, and he's had these bumps for 2 years, and they're just now starting to disappear. So for this to actually work for him, the vinegar, it makes me happy. So you can try other stuff. You can look up home remedies. I looked up other home remedies, but this is the one that I saw a lot of people said was literally accurate and it was showing results. So this will conclude the video. You guys have a nice night.